Okay. I'm sitting here
So
with
I
Howard.
started.
I'm sitting here with Howard Jameson. He's telling me about his surfing experiences
Yeah.
back in
So
L.A.
we started. I started surfing in '64. We moved from Oregon back down to California. We lived in Hermosa Beach,
Yep.
and that was at the time after the big pier had washed away in a big storm. But it was also after when they built the breakwater around the marina in Redondo Beach, and so there was big waves to be caught right off of those rock things. And so we surfed from all the way south to let's see, about 22 miles south of Rosario Beach, all the way up to I'm trying to think of the name of it, where the big oil platforms were up in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And we all the places, Manhattan.
Well, tell me about
Huntington
your
Beach.
board. Did you wear a shorty or did you wear a wetsuit at all? Or
No, we didn't have wetsuits.
and what was the
these
board
days.
you primarily?
It was my first board. Hap Jacobs had a place in Hermosa, right on the beach,
Yep.
and he was about, I'm guessing, 30 in those days. And him and Greg Knoll were the two best
Famous.
board makers. And we used to hang around there just to watch him work. And he actually built them in his garage in those days.
And how old were you at this time?
I was probably 18, 17 or 18. And he had Steve Wilkins, my good buddy. We surfed together. He had a board. He had a Greg Knoll board that he got at a good deal. And so I would kid him a lot. And so one day Hap just said, "Hey, you need a board. I got a board." And it was 12 feet balsa wood. And the first thing I did is I put in a St. Christopher that was about this big. It was made out of brass on the tail. And
As to keep the sharks away?
no, it was because the thing was so heavy in the front
Oh.
that if you didn't do something counterweight, you couldn't get to the front. You know, you'd be on a good wave and you start towards the front and it would do one of these and up in the air you go. You know?
Single fin?
Single fin. Yeah.
So it was how long?
12 feet.
Did you ever nose ride? Could you ever
couldn't
walk
get
it
on
up
the
front?
nose on it, but you could get close. I could get within 1.5 feet of it.
Are you goofy or?
I'm a goofy foot.
You got it.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get territorial about your waves? The breaks?
It wasn't too bad in those days because there wasn't many riders out.
So this is what year we're talking?
This was
60?
64, 65, 66.
So you didn't have any chances of going to Vietnam because you were in college?
No, I actually got picked to go to Vietnam. When I was 26, they started the draft lottery. And then it didn't matter whether you had a 1S or not. And so the first year of the lottery, I got a number of like 180, and I thought I was clean. And then there was a mistake made at the draft board, and they didn't put me in for that lottery. So next year I was in, and I got 70. So in those days, they didn't waste a lot of time. So a month after I got noticed, I had to go take my physical. And I went down there, and they ran the physical. And the guy at the last, he said, "Okay, how old are you?" And I told him, and he said, "What the hell are you doing here?" I said, "You're too old." And I said, "I am?" He said, "Yeah, we don't take anybody over 26, and you're over 26. So I drove straight down to the draft board, and I said, "Hey, there's a mistake here. I'm over 26." And they looked at me kind of funny. They said, "You are?" "Okay." And then I got whatever 3A or whatever it was that they don't take you until they take veterans of the Civil War. So
So
yeah,
was
we
it?
surfed all over the place. We would. Steve's dad was fairly wealthy, and he had a '56 Chevy, and we would buy a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a jug of milk, and we'd go surfing all day. That's what we ate.
You get the energy, yeah. Yeah.
Well, the water was cold, especially at Rincon when you get up that far north. The water was pretty cold.
It's sharky too.
Well, we saw more sharks off of Hermosa than any other place.
Yeah.
You'd be out surfing in the morning.
Yeah.
We always surfed first thing when the sun came up because they in Manhattan and Hermosa and Redondo, the lifeguards come at a certain time. They come in at 8 o'clock, and then if there's any swimmers, they put the meatball up, and the surfers have to come out. So basically, what we did is we went as soon as the sun came up. We went down there and surfed until we had to go to school. So at 7:30, we would gather our stuff up and play games with each other. Somebody would always bite the dare of, okay, go out there and surf naked. And then, of course, their buddies would immediately steal their swim shorts.
Take off.
So they'd have to wear their board to get home.
Were you guys wearing long hair and all that back then?
I never had long hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was
A lot of people did, but when
music
you're in
was
the water,
the music was great back then too.
yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're in the water, your hair's full of salt all the time. So
Yeah, and you weren't wearing any suit.
No.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have suits in those
Got it.
days.
All right.
No,
Well,
we got cold. Oh.